Well, this will be part two of a series called Blinded by Chivalry. Blinded by Chivalry. First installment was talking about more of the philosophy behind how we're blinded by chivalry with the Puritans and how they married the idea of chivalry and romantic love with biblical marriage, and what a mistake that was to do that. And now we'll get into a little bit of places we see this in modern Christian evangelical culture. So the first example that Pastor Dalrock gives of this is a book called Every Man's Marriage, written by Stoker and Arterburn. Very popular Christian book for men on marriage. And in it, Stoker and Arterburn, they refer to a wife's sexuality as her soul essence. Her soul essence. How mystical. How mystical. And what she says in the book, he says, in regard to her soul essence, he says, what I'm trying to say is that the master defines your rights. And he says, and remember again that though we refer to your wife as your master, it's our shorthand for the fact that becoming one with her essence is actually your God-given master. Okay, this is what they write in here. He says, why? Because you're called to oneness, and her essence sets the terms. Whoa. Okay, so her soul essence, meaning her sexuality, is how you can become one with her. And the Bible calls you to oneness with her. And so her soul essence, her sexuality, is going to set the terms for that. It is your master in this relationship. Now that's pretty sinister. I mean, if you really think about the philosophy, or we could go even further into the theology behind that, that is so bad. That is so bad. I don't even think it's, even practically, I think that's a bad idea to be worshiping almost your wife's soul essence so that you can become one with her. Like, where did these guys really have a large study where they thought, wow, we found this to be so effective in the average Christian marriage? Like, there's no way that can be effective in the average Christian marriage. Anyway, even Doug Wilson, the very conservative homeschool Doug Wilson, he writes in a blog post called The Suitor and His Corn. He explains that if a wife doesn't desire her husband sexually, this is an indication that the man is not treating her right. Here's what Doug Wilson says, the conservative Doug Wilson. He says, the most common way this happens in marriage is that a man does not treat his wife right. They start to quarrel and they drift apart, and this naturally includes their sex life. And he feels just as entitled as he ever did. And so Pastor Doug Wilson and Stoker and Arterburn, who are the authors of this other book, are of course not alone in corrupting biblical marriage with the chivalrous concept. They have both been blinded by chivalry. Even Pastor Dave Wilson explains in The Art of Marriage that God reveals his displeasure with Dave through Dave's wife's tingly feelings. Dave says, quote, yes, here's all you need to know about a night with me and my wife. The thing that changed our marriage is when Anne was sharing with me what she felt, and I had a pretty unique encounter with God. I sensed God was speaking to me through Anne because of her feelings that she did not have strong sexual desire for him. Now this is crazy stuff. You know, this is guy. I think the writers of the book, Stoker and Arterburn, I don't know if they're real conservative people, but Doug Wilson, you can't even hardly find a pastor more conservative than that guy. And so it is so complete that we have been completely and utterly blinded by chivalry from the top to the bottom in the modern day church, and we got to get that turned around. We got to get that turned around. But even with all that being said, Christ is winning. He is building his church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. Until next time, this is the Post Millennial Man.